Crown Prince Rufus L. Inglise declares his authority, sentencing Rachel Sheringham, a former daughter of a duke, to immediate execution before a vast crowd gathered at the castle. Rachel, appearing disheveled and bloodied, stands ready to face her fate. A woman declares that that woman will surely revive the demon lord and destroy their country. Crown Prince Rufus asks Yuyuri if the accused was in collusion with demons, using necromancy to harm the world's saint. Meanwhile, Inglise, disgusted by necromancers, rails against a demon's minion for deceiving good people, feeling that he is being framed. Inglise reflects on his past, recalling how he strove hard on the battlefield, spewing blood, and fought closer to the enemy than anyone else, all despite facing contempt. He admits he was born with immeasurable mana and the ability to control the spirits of the dead. Meanwhile, a crowd shouts for the execution of a traitor and a demon's minion, while Rachel, bloody and tearful, laments that she has given up everything for the sake of Inglise and the country, only for this to be the result. The hooded figure raises an axe and the character cries out in pain. As the blow falls, the character questions, "Again, I am dying. Again." A violent impact erupts, splattering dark ink and shattering ornate frames. A thick, twisted rope hangs ominously from above. Now I remember, this is the world of a certain game. Realizing my childhood hobby, I started working for a game company where I spent my busy days. My previous life, where I lived to my 20s, has come to an end due to an accident. A girl who experienced various turmoils around humans and demons, eventually getting involved in war, was called the Saint. This girl, Yuyuri, had lost her memories but possessed a rare healing power. Yuyuri stands up to different hardships together with a fated man with whom she shared her heart. That is the story of this autumn game, which when it went on sale at first didn't get much attention. The game features a dark fantasy setting with high-difficulty simulation battles, and its vast choice system and extensive advertising made it an instant hit on social media. Within the game, characters other than the main ones have a favorability meter, which complicates their relationships. The most important character among them is a duke's daughter, Rachel Sheringham, who confirms, "Yes, that's me." Lady Rachel is dangerous and sure to bring ruin to the Inglise kingdom, yet someone states they have seen this with their power skill as the Saint. Meanwhile, Crown Prince Rufus's fiancée, the capture target, is shown, and it is noted that she is not in opposition to Yuyuri. It is explained that in any scenario, both she and Yuyuri form a relationship of deep trust and are essential, powerful units in battles. Another character, who knows what will happen in the future and is likely a reincarnator like the speaker, is questioned. But why do this? It is also revealed that in the game, Yuyuri does not possess any precognition abilities. A violent explosion erupts, accompanied by a furious declaration, "I forgive you." A wagon journeys along a cliff path, unaware of the devastation. A voice questions why they were killed, lamenting that such a fate was not part of the game's known roots, calling the event terrible and cruel. Two men discuss the disposal of a body, calling it filth and suggesting it be dumped in the forest for wild dogs rather than buried on Inglise soil. Meanwhile, two other men, one with a ponytail, comment on the Crown Prince's dirty work, noting that a woman is supposed to be his former fiancée and that he's likely trying to impress his new young saint. They agree to finish their task quickly and go drinking. Dark, thorny tendrils then begin to wrap around a bare foot. The dark, thorny tendrils have coalesced into a monstrous entity filled with skulls. A man in a cap and glasses reacts with shock and alarm, asking what is happening. Meanwhile, another person screams in agony as the dark power engulfs them. The carriage lies overturned and in ruins, its contents scattered. Meanwhile, a monstrous entity formed from dark tendrils and skulls engulfs a person lying on the ground, and a sharp, violent strike lands. Dark, thorny tendrils, now shaped into grotesque skulls, writhe and coil around a woman in a white dress, pulling her into their embrace. On the left, a close-up reveals an intense, wide-open eye witnessing or experiencing the horrific engulfment. A woman finds herself in a forest, asking where she is. She murmurs that she is. Meanwhile, a man lies dazed on the ground. The woman becomes increasingly panicked, exclaiming in confusion and asking what is happening. In the background, another woman in a white dress looks alarmed, while a man below her appears to be in distress. The character's tortured body is healed, their skin and nails restored. They recall being killed, but now find themselves in a forest, confused and questioning what is happening. A shadowy figure stands in the distance. A vampire with long white hair and fangs, surrounded by bats, detects a human presence. She dismisses the human as just a girl, but then questions if the blonde-haired individual before her truly looks like a mere human. The vampire muses that a vampire who judges solely by appearance will never become a proper one. A vampire with fangs and long blonde hair remarks that she hasn't seen an lick undead king in a couple hundred years. Meanwhile, in a forest, a winged figure with long dark hair stands while a woman in a white dress sits nearby. Someone questions B, but she has wings. The vampire, now in full gothic attire, muses, "A girl." A character asks what is happening, only to be addressed by a woman with a cape who calls her a great magician, noting her youth and significant mana. The woman then observes the destruction of a wagon, accusing the younger character of being responsible. The younger character, confused, asks who the woman is and why she's being called a lich. Another figure then questions the younger character, asking if she just formed and if she knows what happened. The younger character looks bewildered, asking if she was the one who caused the destruction. Someone states that a person has died and after that they revived as a lich. This is confirmed with a quiet "that's right." The blonde-haired woman in the white dress looks on, seemingly recalling the past. Another character, wearing glasses and a uniform, asks if the person was executed and is told that with their kind, only the wound that killed them remains. The character recalls past despair, pain, sadness, and humiliation, stating that these cannot be simple tricks of the mind. They declare, "I died, I was executed under false charges." Then a woman who has lived for 1,000 years addresses another, asking to be called senior and revealing that the other person is now a demon. Rachel cries, lamenting her terrible situation and declaring she won't forgive. Meanwhile, a dark figure hunched over seems to be in pain. Another woman in glaze approaches and tells the figure not to rub so hard, lest they ruin their pretty face, before offering comfort. Inglaise then sighs, murmuring, "Hear, hear." A young person, Valen, cries, lamenting that their heart doesn't make a single sound and wonders if this girl is surely a demon. Another figure with long white hair and a cape embraces Valen, saying that crying it out helps and that it reminds them of when Valen was a small child. They note that Valen is very warm. Meanwhile, a blonde-haired person in armor tells someone to listen, adding that they aren't sure if it's any consolation. In the distance, two figures are seen in a wooded area. A character with blonde hair tells another that they are extremely lucky, explaining that liches are kings who rule over the undead. Meanwhile, a figure with long white hair muses that a high-ranking magician or priest who dies with a strong grudge rarely gets reborn as one, while below a fiendish demon is depicted surrounded by skulls and hooded figures. The blonde-haired character then asks Ho, and is told that's right, for a former human you're very learned. The figure with white hair states they were made to learn information about various enemy demons from an early age, and then begins to speak. I. A woman recalls her past, stating she was a weapon of war, a duke's daughter, and a crown prince's fiancée, whose destiny was to protect the country and fight demons. Meanwhile, a blonde-haired woman asks another if she is dissatisfied, revealing that she has now become a demon herself. The distressed woman laments that she feels her heart will regain just a sliver of the peace it lost. In a large gathering, a man speaks, saying that if he thinks of the people, humans, as different living creatures. A winged figure in a forest accepts a challenge, saying, "So be it," before offering an introduction. A woman with long blonde hair, introducing herself as Alexia, declares she is a blood progenitor of vampires who have lived for 1,000 years. Later, a glowing figure addresses someone as "my new fellow" and asks for their name. The crown prince declares that necromancers are disgusting, calling someone a damn demon's minion. Meanwhile, a woman states she will do things as wished this time, identifying herself as a duke's daughter before retracting it with a no. Later, under the moonlight in a forest, the crown prince apologizes for his late introduction to Lady Alexia, who notes that he has never had his orders refused. Rachel declares that she is a lich named Rachel. She then remarks that in the game there was no such character. Inglaise suggests to Rachel that they get along from now on, acknowledging that the future is uncertain, and Rachel agrees. She then declares, "This is my and my only life of the lich Rachel." Though she seems hesitant, murmuring a denial, Inglaise cuts to the chase, stating he has a place he wants to take her. A path of crystalline shards ascends into the sky. In the distance, a formidable castle stands atop jagged peaks battered by a stormy sea. "There is someone I need you to meet," a voice declares, "I guess." Inglaise has brought Rachel to a place of crystalline shards, leading to a formidable castle. The page shows a grand, ornate figure in armor on the left, while on the right, a magical circle surrounded by floating crystals reveals a central crystalline dragon head. The chapter concludes. Alexia, her large wings spread, carries Rachel towards the formidable castle, telling her, "You can see it." As they descend, Alexia exclaims "Thatis" and urges Rachel to hold on tighter. The imposing Demon Lord's castle looms into view. A voice announces, "Welcome to the Demon Lord's castle." Another voice confirms, "Yes." The chapter title declares the series' premise. "Since necromancers and the like are disgusting, I will reincarnate as a demon." Rachel expresses disbelief, realizing they are on a path that could only lead to the Demon Lord's castle. As Lady Alexia arrives with her, a figure welcomes them back, and a guard stands ready at the entrance. A formidable figure with horns and wings speaks of a special route, the most difficult to conquer, which unlocks only after clearing all other capture targets' routes and seeing all the endings. Meanwhile, a person asks Lady Alexia who is beside her, to which Alexia replies that she has picked up a promising lich in the forest. The other character, recognizing Alexia, muses that in the game she only appears on a certain route, introducing herself as Rachel. Lady Alexia is questioned by Rachel, who is incredulous that Alexia is bringing a human into the castle. A voice reacts with surprise, "Lich, you say? It looks like a human to me." Alexia then declares that she has decided to become Rachel's guardian and will take the blame if anything happens, explaining that the person is a former human who won't bring harm to demons. Alexia tells Rachel that they should proceed, prompting a flustered from Rachel. Meanwhile, two figures in armor walk down a grand hallway. Elsewhere, a hooded figure with glowing eyes is revealed as a door slams shut, and a wolf-like creature in armor looks on as Rachel appears troubled. Alexia leads Rachel through a grand hall, its checkered floor stretching out before them, flanked by rows of imposing statues of winged demons. Within the castle, ominous details abound, from a flaming skull to a complex ticking mechanism. Rachel clutches her chest, her expression troubled by their surroundings. "Yes, Lady Alexia said that there's someone she needs to meet if I recall." Alexia then calls out, "Come here, girly." Inside the castle, a figure reflects that their past life's memories won't be useful for anything now, as things have already deviated from the game's roots. Seeing familiar figures, the character remarks, "There's a lot of those block-headed bunch here from before." Alexia asks, "Would it hurt you to not be so glum?" To which the other character replies with surprise. Alexia tells Rachel that it was to be expected, given the long history of mutual hatred and killing between humans and demons, and asks if Rachel understands. Alexia explains that her duty is that of a weapon, and she was thoroughly taught that demons are beings to be exterminated with prejudice, even though Rachel has already come to grips with her new reality. Rachel, looking thoughtful, remarks that the more she hears about Alexia, the more she thinks Alexia has things to ponder. She then reflects internally that if she didn't have the memories of the game, she probably wouldn't have accepted all this so readily. "Demons are on the verge of destruction and have no time to spare," laments one demon. Another demon finds a request unusual, suggesting they talk over tea. This dire situation is in no small part due to the saint, the first demon states, while the second character reacts with surprise. About a year ago, word came that the Inglise kingdom had a saint's arrival, and soon after their hidden strongholds began falling one after another. All attempts at striking back, whether through cloaking or barriers, were thwarted. It seems the saint possesses the power to see through everything, and her prophecies always come true, though someone vehemently disagrees, crying out that it's wrong. A woman explains that it is not the saint's power at work, but the fact that Saint Yuyuri is also a reincarnator that makes things possible. Yuyuri began the game as an ordinary girl with only basic healing and magic skills, but by accumulating knowledge through learning, participating in battles, and exchanging information, her attributes and affection grew slowly and steadily. Now that the demon's hidden fort has been found, it is possible to exterminate them. Alexia ponders how clearing the game multiple times allows one to remember enemy positions and fort locations, paving the way for effective progression. She notes that the game's story would normally take about 3 years, but accomplishing it in under a year is. Meanwhile, a group discusses their next objective, the base of Ez Mountain, which is home to many plant-type monsters. They believe that enlisting the help of the Flame Wielder's troop will make their problem a walk in the park. Elsewhere, someone thinks, "Damn woman," while Rachel smiles, remarking that the saint's predictions are absolute. Alexia muses that the saint merely wanted the title for herself, without enduring any hardships or dirtying her own hands. Meanwhile, Rachel laments that after bringing the demons to the brink of destruction, she has lost her usefulness in the saint's eyes. She then approaches Alexia, asking for a favor, which causes Alexia to react with surprise. Two demons discuss their dire situation, fearing they will suffer defeat at the hands of the saint once more. They reveal that they have only one hope left: their king, who was sealed long ago by the first saint, Illumina. They focus their dearest wish on this sealed king, hoping for his revival. A figure with horns and wings upside down makes a desperate plea, "I ask of you this, please revive him." The one they are addressing, or the subject of their plea, is identified as Demon Lord Faust. Alexia watches Rachel, who seems overwhelmed as they stand in a grand hall. Rachel reflects that the moment she noticed someone in the forest, she thought that if the holder possessed such an overwhelming amount of mana, they surely would. Rachel feels a burning sensation in her chest, realizing she no longer has a heartbeat but a demon core has appeared inside her. Alexia, admitting it's presumptuous and unfair to ask of a former human, reveals that Rachel's past as a human is exactly what is needed. Rachel steels herself, resolving to try just once this one time, putting aside the possibility of failure. Someone asks Rachel if she is alright with the word "if" appearing nearby. Alexia wonders what the saint would do if unexpected demonic retaliation were to occur. A burning sensation is felt, and the crown prince contemplates what face he would make if Rachel, his former fiancée who turned into a demon, were to appear before him after being used and falsely accused. Meanwhile, a crowd expresses fear, asking what would happen to humans if the demon lord were to be revived. Rachel confirms she is alright, though an internal flame swirls within her, making her question her feelings as this situation is unlike anything in the game. She acknowledges that she is already a demon. Rachel then considers a hypothetical situation. If Lady Alexia, her benefactor, were to wish for something, she would comply. Lady Alexia, who is a former human, expresses extreme gratitude for the consideration shown to her, stating she holds no feelings for those who used and abused her before discarding her. Rachel, now a demon, stands in a grand hall and declares, "I would gladly assist you in the reviving of Demon Lord Faust." Filled with anticipation, she declares that this is something only she can do. Then she questions a thought, murmuring, "If it's me, no." The fortress on the west face has fallen. A skull burns as someone curses, lamenting that the troops have likely been eliminated. A snake comments that the time to prepare for the worst has finally arrived. A hand holding a chess piece asks if it wouldn't be wiser to go on the attack and face honorable deaths rather than wait for their own. Wolf King Rodolph, Vampire Valen, Lilith Hilda, and Ancient Dragon Wilhelm are presented as the proud leaders of the Demon Lord army. One of them refers to the group as us. This chapter is titled, "So I Was Executed, I Reincarnated as a Demon." The demon forces acknowledge they have only one fortress left in the Forest of Shades, and it's only a matter of time before the humans attack. One of the demon leaders declares they will show the humans hell, while another, seemingly in disagreement or resignation, says no. Faced with this dire situation, they decide they must take him and retreat to a safe place, with one vowing to be the rear guard. Meanwhile, a white-haired individual questions the point of discussion, dismissing it as they break a chess piece, signifying the futility of their current plans. The enemy has the saint, does he not? It is still too soon to give up. While strategies are being devised, if she can see everything, their choices are limited. In a grand hall, a figure with long white hair and a dark cape surveys the scene where other individuals are gathered. A figure with long blonde hair, clad in a dark, ornate uniform and cape, announces her return to a group. Another figure, taller and wearing white, stands behind her. Meanwhile, a character with sharp teeth and a wide smile welcomes their sister back, inquiring about the humans' movements. In another part of the scene, a character reacts with surprise, recognizing someone and stating, "You are." A figure senses Rachel's presence, questioning if she could be a lich. Rachel confirms her name. Another character remarks that people usually assume liches are old and sinister, to which someone else agrees, finding Rachel's presence rare. This character then states they decided to look after her, explaining that she has her reasons. The horned character then addresses Rachel, finding her energetic and smooth-skinned. Hilda introduces herself as one of the Demon Lord's army leaders, expressing a cheerful desire to meet someone. A figure with long white hair is then shown. Finally, a group of 5 powerful demons, described as the sole cause of the brutal difficulty on the Demon Lord's route, are revealed, each boasting fiendish strength that cannot be overcome with half-hearted efforts. A character in regal attire questions a blonde individual about a scar on their neck, asking if it caused their death and if they retained consciousness. Meanwhile, another character wearing glasses hugs the blonde individual, finding them cute but then reconsiders, noting they are different from what I thought. The blonde individual, identified as Rachel, tells everyone to stop. A furry hand reaches out, and in a grand hall, Rachel states that she needs to do something very important. A wolf-like demon questions if someone is serious about bringing a human into the castle, expressing disbelief. Meanwhile, another woman confronts Alexia, demanding to know what she is scheming. A winged figure declares that Rachel is already a demon, while another, a former human, is dismissed with a scoff and the comment, "As I thought." The winged figure then questions how long they must listen to the prattle of their kind. Meanwhile, a woman, stating that they are teetering on the brink of extinction and require her strength, asks if the enormous mana isn't obvious. A wolf-like demon retorts, asking if it needs to grovel before her before roaring, "Who do you think is at fault for that?" Rachel, looking distressed, questions how long humans will continue to kill their demon comrades. Later, in a grand hall, she stands before a wolf-like demon. A masked figure revealing fangs questions who the speaker is addressing as youngster. Meanwhile, a wolf-like demon with sharp claws tells Alexia to move, then declares it will tear something apart. The wolf-like creature glares, muttering bitch. Alexia then tells Rachel that she is busy and should be quiet for a little, but Rachel refuses, stating it concerns her and she should be the one to explain everything. A wolf-like creature declares that she was born into a duke's family and was the Inglise Kingdom's crown prince's fiancée. Alexia agrees that this is true, while a woman with glasses questions if she is the crown prince's fiancée. A young man then admits that while it was his role, he cannot refute the truth that he has killed many demons on the battlefield. Later, Alexia tells someone to wait, stating that any retaliation from them is justified. A masked figure questions how a human of high standing could be reborn as a lich through such machinations. The blonde woman, Rachel, recounts that she was executed and that her great power of necromancy was found disgusting and repulsive, leading to her being falsely accused of colluding with demons. A woman tells Valen to leave it, while a smiling man remarks that the Lord Crown Prince's head over heels for the saint. Another person acknowledges this, and a white-haired man states he heard them discussing the saint. The blonde woman adds that it is not all, and a heavily armored figure says they understand. The blonde woman then reveals that she made a prediction, prompting a wolf-like demon to question what the armored figure is saying. Rachel Sheringham, a duke's daughter, declares that she will be involved in resurrecting the demon lord and destroying the country. A wolf-like demon and a woman with glasses react with alarm, their expressions showing shock. A wolf-like demon reacts with shock, exclaiming "WHA!" Meanwhile, Alexia questions if the resurrection of Lord Faust is truly possible. A voice explains that certain events became the final straw that led to their execution, and that they were later thrown into the forest, became a lich, and were taken in by Lady Alexia. A wolf-like creature roars that neither demons nor kidnapped human magicians could achieve what has been done, not even a lich that appeared centuries ago. A blonde woman declares these claims to be lies and states she will handle the matter. She then ponders what she would do if she couldn't fulfill her promise. Meanwhile, a woman in white asks if everyone isn't aware of the saint's strength, as a powerful figure resembling the saint stands nearby. Below them, someone questions if the saint was just speaking nonsense to steal the prince for herself. A woman in a white dress declares that someone is free and can tear her apart all they want. Meanwhile, a wolf-like creature questions why a human would go so far. Before a grand entrance, figures react with alarm, dismissing an excuse and stating, "I can resurrect the demon lord." The humans who betrayed and humiliated her, causing her to meet an unsightly end, are the reason for her vengeful desire. It is simple, she explains, and she wonders what faces people will show if they witness the demon lord's resurrection, driven by simple curiosity. Someone reacts with alarm, asking, "What power?" The blonde woman muses that perhaps it was the poor treatment she endured at the hands of humans. Nearby, another woman asks if the question will not be answered unless all the gritty details are known. In the lower panels, a man with glasses asks if his companion remembers what kind of torture is popular with humans these days, to which she eagerly replies that she would love to hear them. A wolf-like creature simply reacts with an exclamation. An armored figure, identified as Wilhelm, stands beside a woman who is addressed by an agitated companion as sister, who exclaims in shock. Wilhelm then speaks the woman's name. The woman, now surrounded by a dark, smoky aura, is told by Wilhelm, "So be it, let's do it," and invited to come along, girl. The man explains to the blonde woman that the surrounding crystals are crystallized demon cores. Meanwhile, a group of figures, including demons and a woman in white, ascend a grand staircase towards an ornate gate, while another figure steps lightly onto the ground below. Demon cores return to the demon lord's side when demons die, with each core holding a substantial amount of power. A horned demon explains that by distributing these cores, the demon lord will bring prosperity to all demons. Meanwhile, a blonde man agrees, stating that if the demon lord revives, he will absorb these fragments to enhance his own mana. The blonde woman reflects that this is their cycle of life, finding joy in surpassing the fear of death. Rachel reflects that she has killed countless demons and feels no need for an excuse. Meanwhile, another woman expresses disbelief, exclaiming that resurrecting the demon lord will not only earn one the demon's embrace but also a place in the army's leadership, calling it a great achievement. The first woman then states her hope that resurrecting the demon lord will serve as a small atonement for her deeds. The scene opens in a chamber filled with sharp crystalline structures and a summoning circle on the floor, with stairs leading to a figure lying down. Alexia confirms that someone will be forced to admit their wrongs, eliciting a reaction from a wolf-like demon. Wilhelm then interrupts, telling everyone to stop their chatter, and announces that they are in the presence of Lord Faust. A distressed woman watches as a figure lies within a sarcophagus surrounded by sharp crystalline shards. The figure is then shown more closely, resting with eyes closed. From another perspective, a woman with a smile calls out, "Now, Rachel, come here." She adds, "Our future is in your hands," while the words "Demon Lord" are also spoken. Alexia calls out to Rachel, stating she is placing her faith in her. Rachel responds with a yes and asks to be excused, addressing Lord Faust. She then stands before Lord Faust, who is cloaked and has long white hair, as she continues to speak with him. A person's bare feet descend a staircase, accompanied by soft footsteps. Nearby, a clawed hand reaches out. Below, a woman with long white hair and a worried expression sits amidst sharp, crystalline shards, letting out a pensive sigh. The character with long white hair and pointed ears reflects on memories from her past life. She finds her current experience to be like a game, or even more beautiful than she imagined. However, this reflection gives way to overwhelming emotion, as tears well up in her eye and she cries out in distress. A character reflects that they cried a little and urges themselves to get it together. They recall arriving at a certain pedestal through trial and error, driven by a single-minded desire to meet the Demon Lord without knowing anything. In another scene, a figure recounts the legend of Saint Illumina, who sacrificed her life to seal the Demon Lord in the Death Realm, noting that all children know this story. A sharp sound like a bite or tearing escapes the character as they touch their mouth. They then reach out towards something unseen. Words of abyss, destiny, stillness, and demise are spoken as the character looks down with a somber expression. A drop of blood falls with a soft sound. A pronouncement is made that who is the oldest, the sole eternity. Meanwhile, a figure with light hair and glasses urges, "Be free of shackles, gaze into the light," as a magical symbol pulses with energy. Below, this same figure looks on with concern while a gathering occurs. Among them are a woman with glasses, a wolf-like demon, and a figure in white hair and a cape, possibly Lord Faust, with Rachel standing before them. The mighty yet sorrowful Pheromone declares that she opens gates and hears the voice announcing death. She reveals that she was born with the power of necromancy and an enormous mana pool, before trailing off with I. With scornful gazes all around her, she twirled until she almost spewed blood. This made her the most accomplished mage in the Inglise Kingdom, one who mastered necromancy. For her, communicating with the Death Realm is child's play, which is why she can revive the Demon Lord and only she can do it. Rachel calls out, identifying Demon Lord Faust as the one who wanders the realm of the dead, and commands him to heed her call. The Crown Prince demands to hear something again, while the woman beside him questions what he said. He then angrily asks if she is out of her mind for suggesting they expose Yuyuri to danger. Meanwhile, a woman with glasses states that as ordered, they are going to march to the Demon Lord's castle, and she would like the Miss Saint to come along. A stern figure dismisses Nola's, warning him not to speak the traitor's name again as it makes him furious. Meanwhile, it is explained that with Lady Rachel gone, Lady Yuyuri will now take her place in battle, just as the Crown Prince's fiancé or the Queen would. A figure in formal attire agrees to something with a certainly. Separately, a woman with glasses notes that thanks to Yuyuri's predictions, demons are already at death's door. In a grand hall, Yuyuri is told to choose any jewel she desires, as a magnificent parade announcing a betrothal is planned, and more can be given if she wishes. Yuyuri thanks them, and the speaker confidently states that Yuyuri alone can easily conquer one or two Demon Lords' castles. Lord Nolas asks if the prince and Lady Yuyuri are always like this, to which his companion replies that the prince has left his duties to the ministers, and Yuyuri, unlike Rachel, doesn't train and spends her time with him. Meanwhile, an urgent message is delivered, proceed to the sanctuary post-haste. Immediately after, Nolas is told, "Be bad news, Lord Nolas." "Wah, how could this happen?" exclaim figures gathered before the shattered remains of the statue of Lady Saint Illumina. One calls it a bad omen, while another wonders if it could be a sign of something wicked occurring. A close-up reveals an intense, watchful eye. Two close-ups of eyes are shown against a backdrop of blurred lights, suggesting a moment of intense focus or deep emotion. The woman surveys the devastated landscape, smoke billowing from the ruins. She questions if her actions were successful, then reflects that if this is the place where Lord Faust was sealed, it must be the scene he sees within his heart. The ground is littered with the fallen casualties of the destruction. The woman surveys the devastated landscape, her torn clothes and bare feet suggesting a difficult journey. She declares that she needs to search for something, her gaze fixed on a figure standing amidst the ruins. This figure, seen from the back, wears ornate robes and has horns. Rachel introduces herself, noting that someone looks like a young boy. In a ruined landscape, a figure asks who is approaching. A horned individual identifies the approaching person as it's him, and asks if they are Demon Lord Faust. The horned individual then retracts their question, stating, "Wrong, I am not the one," and questions if they themselves are Demon Lord Faust or if the person they are speaking to is. The horned figure reflects on their long-lost identity and the countless tragedies they have witnessed. They are revealed to have been trapped in the land of death, a place where humans go after their demise, despite being a demon and have not known sleep for an eternity. Meanwhile, another woman states that everyone is eagerly waiting for the horned figure's awakening, but declares that it must end. A horned figure asks if everyone is present, and another confirms, listing Lord Wilhelm, Lady Hilda, Lord Rodolph, and each and every demon. The scene then shifts to show imposing, winged figures and a confrontation involving Lady Alexia and Lord Valen, who reacts with alarm. A character, reflecting on nostalgic names, declares their intention to take someone with them and become their strength. A horned figure acknowledges something, stating, "I see," and that's right, while another person begins to say, "I am." In the next scene, a woman addresses another, calling her Rachel, who confirms yes when asked if something is right. The first woman then questions, "Whatever for?" and A separate thought follows, wondering why someone would desire to revive the demon lord, concluding it must be a magician of considerable might capable of entering the land of the dead. Amidst ruins, a figure reborn as a lich declares her desire for revenge and her obligation to repay Lady Alexia. When she speaks of atonement, another figure declares it wrong. This armored figure then demands the truth, rejecting any pretense, as the lich states her intent to revive something. A horned figure described as cold, cunning, and cruel is discussed, with a woman noting that the path of the demon lord, even after revival, is fraught with anxiety. A warning is given that any single mistake will lead to a swift, bad ending. Despite knowing the risks, a crying woman reflects that she will proceed, and a determined blonde woman states that even without a guarantee of her own safety, she will continue. The figure with horns looks away as another woman, her gaze downcast, reflects on her feelings. She admits that while her earlier reasons for wanting to meet someone were true, seeing them in their sleeping state made those thoughts vanish. Now she simply wants to meet them and nothing else matters. The woman extends her hand, asking the horned figure if they believe her, and if they do. The horned figure's face is then shown in close-up, first with a subtle smile, then with a more pensive gaze. The horned figure acknowledges Rachel's statement that she is in their debt. They then offer her the honor of calling them by their true name. When the blonde figure asks what it is, the horned figure reveals that Faust is just what they are called as the Demon Lord. A magnificent castle stands on a rocky island, surrounded by turbulent waters. An overwhelming, blinding light erupts from its center, radiating outwards with immense power. A powerful blast of energy erupts, shattering ice formations as a figure in a flowing white dress unleashes their magic. Meanwhile, observers react with alarm, one exclaiming in shock while others watch the unfolding events. A grand circular platform marked with arcane symbols and surrounded by numerous floating crystals serves as the setting. At its center, a structure of sharp crystals rises with stairs leading upwards. Several figures gather on the platform. One in a cloak stands to the left, followed by another in dark robes. Near the central crystal structure, two figures stand together, one adorned with elaborate headgear and flowing robes, possibly the revealed demon lord Faust, and another beside them in dark attire. The blonde woman cries out in distress, groaning as she clutches her hands together. Amidst her pain, the words "true name is" my are spoken. Then a voice calls out, "Lord Ewald." Faust looks down at Rachel, who is overcome with emotion. Her hands are clenched together as she cries out, tears streaming down her face. A group of imposing figures, including a wolf-like creature and others in regal attire, stand beneath a sky filled with glowing crystals. Meanwhile, a sharp gasp is heard as clawed hands are shown. In the foreground, the horned demon Lord Faust looks down at Rachel, who is overcome with emotion and tears, clutching her hands as she looks up at him. The distressed figure, with tears streaming down their face, utters fragments of words. They then respond with a tearful yes, as the name Lord Ewald is spoken. The horned demon Lord Faust embraces Rachel, speaking the name Lord Ewald. Rachel, weeping, reflects that she was good and able to properly. Meanwhile, other figures react with surprise, identifying him as the demon lord and shouting his name, Faust. The horned demon Lord Faust embraces Rachel, who appears to be weeping. Meanwhile, another figure calls out Rachel in concern, and the sound of something shifting, kakun, is heard. The weary figure reassures that there is no problem, even though the other character notes that someone has just used up all their mana. This is attributed to the backlash from uttering a true name to bring them back. The same figure then asks how long it has been since that incident occurred. Meanwhile, a person is addressed as Wilhelm, reacting with a startled "ah." A winged, armored figure remarks that 824 years have passed since someone fell into a long sleep. Meanwhile, a white-haired man stands with several companions, including a wolf-like creature, as a dark-haired woman looks on distressed. The horned demon Lord Faust asks where Griffin is, while the blonde woman Rachel notes the absence of Ferilia, Madaz, and Igardo. Unfortunately, all of them fought bravely until their last breath. Still, some new faces have been brought in, the current succubus tribe's leader, H. Hilda, and the Wolf King, Rodolph. The figure embracing Rachel looks down as she continues to weep. Meanwhile, Rachel stands with a wolf-like creature and another armored individual amidst glowing crystals. A massive serpentine creature with dark, wing-like membranes dominates the foreground, while in the distance, several powerful beings, including the horned demon Lord Faust, gather. Demon Lord Faust cradles Rachel and tells unseen listeners to raise their faces. He explains that he left his retainers in the middle of a difficult situation for a long time, and then privately admits that he is deeply ashamed of himself. The horned figure who has returned declares his arrival. Facing him, another figure states that this situation will end today. Meanwhile, in a separate scene, a distressed individual, having grown tired of waiting, calls out to a sleepyhead. Another figure, clenching their fist, murmurs, "I," before a third character expresses joy at seeing them again, calling them "my friend." An armored figure welcomes Lord Faust back, stating that gathering together again in his presence is the height of happiness. Meanwhile, Lord Faust makes a hesitant sound, and another person addresses someone as elder sister. Later, Faust asks if everything is alright with someone's body, while another character calls out Faust. The long-haired figure laments that they now have only half their normal magic and seem to have overslept, though they could still destroy fortresses. Meanwhile, a blonde man, accompanied by a wolf-like creature, eagerly offers to bring his companion anything they desire, suggesting that good food will help them regain their lost might. Elsewhere, a horned woman informs someone that their room is prepared and asks them to leave the safety of the castle to her group. Demon Lord Faust agrees, "Let's do just that." The person he is with, Rachel, reflects that she has found another thing to find joy in. Two soldiers discuss the terrifying magic being used, worrying it might curse them too. One remarks that with Lady Rachel on their side, their army will be invincible, and he feels sorry for the demons. Another soldier wonders if the young woman they see is the future queen, a thought that makes him shudder. In a graveyard, two figures discuss a recent victory, noting that there was one victim. Nearby, a woman questions if a figure by an open coffin is who they think, while another observes that demonic poison has contorted the victim's face. Meanwhile, a group witnesses a distressed man who is weeping as a woman identified as Lady Rachel stands before him. A young boy cries out for his father, distressed. A woman with long blonde hair comforts him, assuring him that she understands and can take care of his son. The man, looking unwell and overwhelmed, listens as she speaks. A character expresses deep regret, apologizing for their own incompetence in failing to protect someone. They then speak to a woman lying down, referring to her as his wife who died, assuring him she is not angry. He wishes for her rest to be forever peaceful and for her to sleep well. Meanwhile, a young boy looks up in distress and a scene implies a kiss. A woman tells a young boy that his father was able to sleep peacefully in his mother's arms, and that his father's last worry was for the boy, who is now alone. She promises to arrange for him to be sent to a relief center under her responsibility. Meanwhile, a man's face is shown with a whisper of "father," and the thought that he will no longer be suffering. The boy, looking distressed, calls out hey, as he stands near what appears to be a solemn location. A young man thanks a woman who replies, "Very much." They stand in a graveyard with crosses visible. Later, a young person with a scar on their cheek looks on with distress as a woman in a formal dress stands near a young boy who is also distressed. The crown prince approaches Rachel, asking if it's true that she always visits the graveyard after battles. He mentions rumors that the future queen is quite enamored with the battlefield and the dead instead of the palace. Rachel confirms this, prompting the crown prince to urge her to think about her reputation. Crown Prince Rufus sternly tells Rachel not to go to the graveyard again, but she insists it is her duty to mourn and guide the soldiers who died for their country. She then acknowledges his command. Elsewhere, a young boy confirms something with a yes, and hands are clasped tightly. A blonde-haired figure wakes from a dream, wondering why they had such a vision. The scene then shifts to a luxurious bedroom where the same figure lies in a large bed, seemingly still recovering from the unsettling experience. Inglise awakens in an unfamiliar, opulent room, questioning her location. She recalls being with someone just moments before, her voice breaking with tears. Meanwhile, a figure in a dark cape opens the door to a bedroom where a woman is seated on the bed. Lady Alexia finds Rachel awake in an opulent room, noting that she had slept for 3 whole days. Rachel reassures Alexia that she is all right and reveals that she is no longer human. Rachel, now no longer human, is spoken to by a figure in a dark, hooded cloak. This figure tells her that she is now theirs, and by extension, the benefactor of every demon. The other person, likely Rachel, expresses her inability to find words to convey her sincere thanks for what has been done for them. The hooded figure then simply says, "Thank you." The hooded figure expresses satisfaction, stating they had no doubts Rachel would accomplish her goal and that their eyes did not deceive them. Meanwhile, Alexia finds Rachel and asks what is the matter, but Rachel replies that it is nothing to worry about. Lady Alexia asks what she should do from now on, wondering if there could be any other answer. A woman tells her that her life is hers to live as she pleases, and that she would be very pleased if she chose to live there. Meanwhile, a monstrous figure exclaims, "Right," before the transformed Rachel, now no longer human, snaps her fingers and declares that they must first change Alexia's style a bit, stating she will do as she pleases. A character reacts with surprise, exclaiming "WTF, they were girls," as bat-like creatures flit past. Meanwhile, Rachel stands transformed, flanked by two figures in gothic attire. One of them tells her, "Prepare yourself, Rachel," with a sinister chuckle, while the other declares, "I will paint you over in my color." A stern-faced individual declares they fought hard to have someone in their care, mentioning that if left to Hilda she would have doted on them excessively. A smaller, dark-haired figure asks if they cannot join in. Suddenly, the dark-haired figure cries out in alarm as they are attacked, while the stern individual shouts, "Now charge!" Elsewhere, Lady Alexia observes a dresser filled with jewelry, wondering what it is. Rachel stands transformed, adorned in an elaborate dress with figures in gothic attire flanking her. In a smaller scene, her attendants react with shock, exclaiming, "OH." Rachel is questioned about making someone wait, and she responds that it's obvious. Meanwhile, two figures in gothic attire tell her not to keep people waiting, with one remarking that their efforts are better than imagined and will surely satisfy the man. In another scene, a woman states she wouldn't make such a declaration lightly, while a group of figures, including a wolf-like creature, are present. Elsewhere, a character exclaims, "Lord Faust." And another asks with disbelief if a statement is truly meant. The transformed Rachel, adorned in an elaborate dress, declares her intention to take Rachel the Lick as her wife. Meanwhile, the horned demon Lord Faust, identified as Lord Faust, states, "I am," standing in a grand hall before robed figures. The blonde figure urges Rachel forward, explaining that the audience room lies beyond the ornate door where demon Lord Faust awaits. Rachel looks on, her yellow eyes fixed ahead. Chapter 6 begins with the title, "Since I was called a disgusting necromancer and executed, I will reincarnate as a demon." The scene opens in a grand hall where a figure sits upon a throne at the end of a red carpet. Several individuals are prostrate before them while others stand in the background, including a blonde woman in an elaborate dress and a figure in blue. In an inset, the cover of Volume 1 of the series, "Reincarnated as a Demon," is displayed. A group including a wolf-like creature, a blonde man in a red uniform, and a purple-haired woman with horns observes the scene. The blonde man comments on the unusual respect shown by everyone. Meanwhile, a white-haired woman in a blue dress looks on in surprise, asking what is happening. In a close-up, the white-haired woman, now revealed to be Rachel, smiles smugly and acknowledges someone's arrival. Demon Lord Faust beckons Rachel closer, calling her his destiny. Rachel, looking up at him with wide, surprised eyes, calls him "my queen." The blonde woman asks Faust if he hasn't any queens. Meanwhile, Faust questions if 826 years of sleep have broken the white-haired woman's mind, asking if she's gone stupid with fantasies. The white-haired woman exclaims in disbelief, "You meant that," and corrects him, stating it has been 824 years. Faust then warns Alexia to be careful with her words, prompting a surprised reaction from Alexia. Demon Lord Faust states he is still of sound mind, then declares that from now on, Rachel will be his wife. He asks if she understands, to which Rachel can only stammer an "A." In the background, an attendant exclaims, "Oh my," as Rachel lets out a horrified scream. A figure questions Rachel about her change of heart and her past as the Demon Lord, asking where this sudden interest in love came from. He then declares that he has met his destined woman, addressing Rachel directly as his destiny. Rachel reacts with a shocked "WHA." Faust expresses his joy that the Demon Lord has finally settled down, while another voice questions what is happening. The woman with dark hair and horns, addressed as Demon Lord and Demon Queen, receives congratulations. She reflects that even if the story has deviated, this cannot be, and wishes eternal happiness. Meanwhile, a woman in an ornate dress apologizes for her past rudeness. A blonde figure reacts with disbelief, stammering, "Surely, you jest. And I am not." A clawed hand emerges, and the speaker questions if his confession of love was taken as a mere jest. He then asks if they do not believe his words. Beneath a vast, dark, wing-like expanse, Rachel and Alexia stand, with Alexia looking on in disbelief. The Demon Lord's word is absolute to demons, but Rachel is still new to this. Someone, possibly Alexia, tells Faust to leave it alone. Faust, identifying himself as the Thousand Love Meister, advises that Rachel is a former human and should be considered as such. Alexia questions the title Love Meister. Alexia is startled by a suggestion to spend some time alone together, her shocked exclamation of Lady Alexia echoing. Meanwhile, a horned figure with long white hair laughs heartily, remarking that he must listen to the counsel of his old friend and that despite appearances, he is a very honest man. Alexia looks on, surprised. A clawed hand reaches out and the name Rachel is spoken. The horned figure, Faust, touches Rachel's face and asks if it isn't better to feel his love with their bodies rather than just think about its depth. Rachel sees an imagined picture of a wilting rose, fearing what might happen if things continue. She reacts with shock and disbelief to something that was said, exclaiming, "Oh God, oh God." Meanwhile, two figures loyal to the demon lord state they will do everything as instructed and leave all the afterwork to them. Rachel, overwhelmed and struggling, asks someone to wait, stammering, "I am." She then addresses someone as Lord Ewald. Rachel feels a sudden draining of her power, as if her blood pressure has dropped. The horned figure, Faust, leans over her, uttering a surprised "Who-ops?" Arodio-Lphe, a grand figure with wings, is present as a wolf-like creature eagerly volunteers, promising to use as much mana as needed and to commit to reducing casualties. Meanwhile, a blonde woman discusses an important role in evacuating comrades to the castle from the surrounding territories, remarking that werewolves are quite similar to human scum. Elsewhere, another blonde character appears distressed before steeling herself. Faust, the horned figure, tells Rachel that he is leaving everything to her and the others, prompting a surprised "eh" from her. Rachel then lets out a surprised "ah" before striking a confident pose and wishing good luck. Meanwhile, Lady Alexia calls for help, while Rachel offers a knowing smile. The horned figure Faust stands in a grand doorway, seemingly departing. Meanwhile, a blonde figure Alexia exclaims in shock, "N." A powerful cry of despair, "N-O-O-O-O-O-O-O-O-O," echoes from the left. Mr. Nolas examines a map spread out on a table. Meanwhile, Lady Yuyuri arrives, accompanied by guards, and addresses him. Mr. Nolas is told that going out at night is dangerous, but he assures his companion he has guards and asks about his departure for tomorrow. Meanwhile, a woman notes that with no demon lord, his army is powerless, and the demon lord's castle will be empty save for werewolves. She then adds that as the one responsible for thousands of soldiers, she must be as thorough as possible in her duty. The Crown Prince instructs someone to bring the demon lord's body with them when they conquer his castle. He also mentions that he himself ordered the whole place to be burned down. Meanwhile, Rachel reflects on how close she is to achieving something from her previous life, while also thinking that the demon lord is quite handsome. She then states her intention to steal from the demon lord to shatter the hearts of the demons, but is quickly corrected. The Crown Prince, Rufus, questions the need for the body and asks about a previous life. A woman looking smug asks someone if they don't want to end up like that woman, Rachel. Meanwhile, Mr. Nolas expresses his inability to agree to something, fearing the seal might be undone, but then laughs as he is ordered to proceed. The woman then triumphantly declares, "I am the heroine saint." Mr. Nolas warns her to watch her tongue, stating he will report to His Highness, but adds that whatever happens, he will be fine. A woman with a confident laugh tells her bodyguard to remember what she asked and to protect her, as the demon army might try to kidnap her as a last act of resistance. Meanwhile, another man, addressing his own bodyguard, states he is going to spend the evening at a party with Lord Rufus and his friends. A stern-faced man in a cap and glasses listens intently. The scene then shifts to a grand castle. Chapter 7 begins, explaining that the story now branches off from the Rufus route after conquering and seeing the endings of all capture targets' routes, leading to the Demon Lord route. This path is described as the hardest, presenting the most difficult choices and battles. The story continues, stating, the story goes like this. After tough battles, all the demons' forts were conquered. Right before a planned ceremony where Yuyuri and the prince were to exchange vows to rouse the people of peaceful Inglise, Yuyuri was kidnapped by demons planning a rebellion. All the demon army leaders demanded something, and then, after being dragged to the demon lord's castle, the situation unfolded. The saint is told that she should be able to revive their king, who was sealed by the first saint, Illumina. Meanwhile, a deathly battle unfolds, with dreadful enemies being stopped by sheer numbers, allowing others to pass through. At the same time, all of Yuyuri's friends gather troops before the demon lord's castle to save her. Rufus and Rachel arrive at the altar with the demon lord. Meanwhile, it is noted that the one who can call from the realm of the dead is not the saint, but rather a possessor of powerful magic proficient with necromancy who can converse with souls. It is also revealed that Yuyuri was unable to revive the demon lord. A distressed woman, her hair disheveled, asks if she's being turned to Rachel for help. Another woman, her face obscured, explains that the Demon Lord's army desperately wishes for his resurrection. Instructions are given to use all power to release the Demon Lord's binds, stating this is necessary if the desire is to save the saint's life. The saint herself is shown gagged and bound, with a sword piercing her mouth. In the darkness, someone calls out, Rachel. Then a blonde woman, determined, says, and so. The scene shifts to show a battered man and woman, both injured, standing together. Inglise asks Rachel if she is okay and how she feels, to which she replies that she is already all right. The Demon Lord Faust then tells her not to push herself. The Demon Lord thanks someone for dispelling the seal that bound him for eternity, calling them his benefactor. It is revealed that even within the game, only Rachel can revive the Demon Lord. Therefore, it is essential to maximize her powers and favorability. The current problem, it seems, is that while the revival is approaching, the true difficulty lies in preparing for the Demon Lord route, which requires raising Rachel, the strongest magician, as a crucial step. The Demon Lord tells Rachel it's not like he's against something, and then admits that in his past life he never had his first time. Rachel, meanwhile, feels her heart isn't ready, remembering the Demon Lord was her favorite in the game. Later, she states that her chastity is in danger. The Demon Lord expresses pleasure that Rachel is using his true name, but playfully adds that it would be a bother if she were to faint. Rachel reacts with flustered embarrassment, making sounds of surprise. The scene then shifts to a close-up of the Demon Lord's imposing, demonic eye. The Demon Lord tells the person he is speaking to relax and not be afraid. He then comments on his own powerful demon eye, remarking that it is as beautiful as a jewel, with a color that feels as if it sucks you in. The man asks Rachel if she feels any different, to which she replies that there is nothing to speak of. Separately, a woman addresses Lord Ewald, stating that she does not. The Demon Lord reveals that his true name commands eternal awe and fear, and that simply uttering it can drain a vast amount of mana. Rachel, absorbing this information, declares that she finally understands everything. The Demon Lord Faust explains that while outstanding magicians like Rachel only get a little dizzy from his power, ordinary people have their life force drained and die. Rachel, startled, asks if she is meant to die, then reflects on how she ended up being feared and avoided, having warned her own people not to call her name. Faust confirms that this is why his name, Faust, is needed, and Rachel, finding it strangely hurtful, acknowledges that she understands. The Demon Lord's expressions and way of speaking are noted as being just like those of a normal young man. Meanwhile, the blonde-haired individual muses that he never imagined he would see the Demon Lord like this, and that being him isn't easy. The Demon Lord then expresses a desire for the woman he loves to call him by his true name, stating that just before, he made a part of both of them identical. The Demon Lord Faust tells Rachel she can call him by his true name, suggesting it's like sharing mana with him. Rachel reacts with surprise, questioning his casual approach to such a serious matter. She then realizes the implication and declares that she possesses the same power as the Demon Lord. Meanwhile, Lord Ewald is addressed, and after a moment of confusion, he tells someone to call him by his name as many times as they like, but then emphatically states, not that. The Demon Lord Faust calls Rachel my love and asks if she believes him now. He then tells her he will teach her the depth of his love through her body, which Rachel realizes was the sharing of mana. Rachel, in turn, urges him to speak if anything is bothering him, assuring him that she is fine. The Demon Lord smiles, teasing Rachel, who blushes and thinks he's teasing her. He then asks why her, and tells her she should be proud of herself for polishing her necromancy to the extent of being able to resurrect him. He confesses that her exhausting efforts inspire admiration, making it reasonable for him to develop feelings for her. Rachel, in turn, questions why he goes to such lengths for her, realizing it's mana sharing that makes her his queen. Faust reminds Rachel that he was once human and that they met just the other day, a statement Rachel finds hard to believe. He then observes that she occasionally looks at him with eyes overcome with emotion, as if fondly remembering something from his past, prompting a surprised reaction from her. Faust remarks that it feels as if they had met each other before, and Rachel agrees, saying it's as if fate brought them together. As their moment intensifies, a voice urgently calls out, "Please wait a moment." The Demon Lord addresses Rachel, asking if she wishes to exact revenge. He offers to use all his magic to cast a spell on the Inglise kingdom should she desire it. The speaker declares that the moment their power returns, they will turn the land into a barren wasteland for a century or perhaps attack it personally. A voice responds, "I will." The speaker then demands to know the names of those who tormented Rachel, promising to present their heads immediately. They further vow to do anything and everything for her sake, reiterating, "I will." Rachel is then told to remember that if she accepts and believes in their love, their heads will be presented. The Demon Lord Faust glares with a sinister smile, his sharp demonic eyes visible in the darkness. From behind, a character with white hair reacts with a distressed "no" and a faint "yen." The Demon Lord Faust glares with a sinister smile, his sharp demonic eyes visible in the darkness as Inglise recoils in terror. Her face contorts in panic, and a hand reaches out amidst sounds of struggle. The scene then shows a grand doorway with a voluminous dress obscuring the foreground. The demon Lord Faust appears looking stern while a figure in armor is seen in a doorway. Faust then lets out a mocking laugh saying "Heh." The scene shifts to a vast, dark castle, its spires sharp and imposing, with jagged lines of energy or destruction overlaying it. A figure stands by a large window, seemingly observing something with amusement. Elsewhere, a character realizes with a sigh that the demon lord is indeed the demon lord after all. A shoe falls with a sharp sound, followed by a distressed cry. Another character states they already knew this, warning that someone will use empty, sweet words to drag them into darkness. This cold-hearted individual who never opens their heart to anyone is being described. A woman looks down, muttering honestly, while a small, elegant figure stands alone on a vast floor. A character observes that even the game version of someone often whispered sweet nothings to Yuyuri. Another figure declares they do not wish to be an enemy, proposing they bury the hatchet, end the long war, and aim for coexistence. A large text box explains that Yuyuri, believing him, served as a go-between between the two factions. A figure begins to speak, saying, "But." The demon lord's past actions are revealed. Everything was a ploy to buy time for him to regain his power, secretly rebuilding his army to strike unsuspecting humans. A white-haired figure laments that things should have been that way, while the demon lord is seen with Rachel, who wears a flower crown and responds yes. Elsewhere, a figure hunches over, muttering still, and reflecting that if his words weren't true, there would be no sense in him sharing mana. Another character observing this states they already knew that, adding that he is not a character unknown to love. A white-haired figure looks down with a troubled expression. In a grand hallway, a woman in an elaborate dress kneels on the floor, pondering aloud, "What should I do?" An army of about 5,000 troops has been dispatched, and it's clear their target is the demon lord's castle. As one demon wonders what they should do, another replies that it is obvious, they must protect the fortress. The demons receive an unexpected order to retreat, not from a figure named Rodolph, but directly from the demon lord Faust himself. This command instructs everyone from the fortress and surrounding areas to fall back to the castle, leaving some demons bewildered and questioning what was said. Rachel asks Faust how something went, to which he replies that it seems like it's going to take time and is dreadful. The scene is set in Faust's study, filled with books, with his imposing castle looming in the background. A figure expresses a great desire to assault everyone, but another insists the matter is not about magic but about Rachel. Later, Rachel states she has not yet agreed to become the Demon Queen, asking instead to be called by her name. She then requests a little more time, explaining it's not that she disliked the proposal. Meanwhile, someone slumped over a desk asks what happened, referencing what she said. Someone reveals their true nature and feelings, stating there is no way around it. Another person asks if someone has been completely avoiding them, noting it has been about 7 days since they last met. A question is posed about what will happen if Rachel doesn't fall in love with the person being addressed. That person, with a determined smirk, declares they will simply wait until Rachel falls in love with them. Faust declares with firm resolve that he will not let a certain event happen. Meanwhile, Rachel observes Faust's outward confidence but questions if he is truly all right. As Faust walks away, an exclamation of good grief is heard. A character with long white hair observes from a distance, reflecting that Rachel is earnest and hardworking, not the type to be drawn to romance. Another character, distressed, asks if someone is lost or has lost something while also questioning if they are a refugee. From a balcony above, a figure calls out, "Oi, you there." Meanwhile, a wolf-like creature addresses someone as Lady Alexia, about to clarify something. Rachel sits alone in a room, her expression troubled as she touches her face. Nearby, a woman in a formal outfit, accompanied by small ghostly spirits, appears overwhelmed and distressed. This is met by the cacophony of demonic laughter emanating from a shadowy figure. Lady Hilda is surprised to find Rachel there, remarking that she never expected her to run away barefoot. Rachel, distracted, asks if she had called many times, then questions if she heard correctly that Rachel had dumped Lord Faust. Hilda asks if something is bothering her, and Rachel apologizes, admitting she was thinking about something else. Rachel suggests that if someone stays cooped up, they'll grow mold. Another character asks if it's a good idea to make the Demon King wait, to which the first character replies that was not their intention. Later, the armored figure suggests they have tea, and then the horned woman, with a smile, expresses a desire to sit down for a nice long chat with the blonde-haired woman beside her. Someone asks if the other ran away and receives a simple yes. Meanwhile, a woman muses that she might have lost her nerve in the same situation, prompting a question of whether that is so. The blonde-haired woman then expresses that she expected to be criticized for being disrespectful. In the upper panel, a wolf-like creature, a knight, and a young boy discuss the Demon King. One comments that men might be like that, while another questions how such a situation could arise when it's an honor. The first asks what is dissatisfying about the Demon King, and a separate bubble notes that women aren't that simple. In the middle section, a woman with glasses and a snake around her states that no matter how perfect a demon king is, whether one can love him or not is another matter. Beside her, a woman wearing a crown agrees, saying that is a separate issue. Below, the demon Lord Faust speaks of his love, asking if the person before him believes him. The other person, looking intently, asks if they believe him and then questions, love. Rachel asks Hilda if something is bothering her, and Hilda's thoughts reveal that thinking of Lord Ewald makes her heart flutter. Rachel then states that she doesn't want to die again. Rachel recalls the insults from the masses and the feeling of her neck being split, vowing never to feel that again. Meanwhile, she expresses her fear of being used and betrayed again. Beside her, a blonde-haired man admits he is afraid to trust Lord Ewald. A declaration is made that demons use force to get what they want, and that absolute submission to the strong, along with trust and love, are unnecessary. However, Lord Faust does not approve of this philosophy, especially concerning the person he is speaking to. This individual then asks if Faust is waiting for a reply. The blonde woman states that the fact the demon lord, who could do anything, has done nothing yet is proof. Another woman replies that she doesn't understand, as she hasn't had anything to do with him since then. A man remarks that it's not easy being the demon lord. Meanwhile, a blonde woman exclaims mean. And another voice explains that even though they share his power, he only lets you use his true name. A small, horned creature laughs joyfully as it runs. The blonde-haired woman questions if there are children, and Rachel explains that Lord Faust has ordered the refugees to be taken in. The blonde woman then relays Faust's promise that he will not lose anyone else now that he is back. Meanwhile, Hilda makes cute dog sounds at a dog, and Rachel playfully scolds two small figures, calling them brats. A wolf-like warrior, armored and furious, demands that someone remember whose castle they are in and tells them not to run around. A blonde-haired woman in Gleis listens, noting his loud voice. The wolf creature then seems to ponder something, asking him. Elsewhere, Gleis questions if someone is Lord Rodolph, remarking that they look a bit different. In a grand hall, the wolf creature happily greets Hilda, exclaiming he's glad she is safe. Another woman, prepared to fight to the death, expresses surprise that the demon lord would be resurrected. A wolf-like creature watches intently. Meanwhile, Gleis observes a blonde girl, remarking, this girl. As another character questions, that is. Suddenly, a colossal, monstrous form lunges forward with immense force, its attack heralded by a massive sound effect, causing the blonde-haired woman in the dress to recoil in terror. A powerful blow sends a wolf-like warrior crashing through the air. Nearby, a woman with cat-like ears and short blonde hair exclaims in shock, asking what just happened, while a horned figure behind her also reacts with surprise. A wolf snorts as the warrior lands, kneeling amidst dust near a large, flowing white dress. A woman asks, "What are you doing?" Meanwhile, a monstrous creature exclaims, "Why is there a human here?" In response, she declares, "This again, I'm no longer human, I'm the Lich Ratch," before being silenced with silence. The monstrous wolf-like creature lets out a terrifying roar. A woman with glasses cries out for it to stop. Amidst the destructive energy, Gleis stands her ground as the enraged wolf creature continues its violent charge. A pale figure, speaking of being incomplete even as a demon, declares they are no longer human. Meanwhile, a wolf-like creature, struggling, wonders if becoming the demon queen might change things, while another figure in Gleis states they cannot make that decision either. A figure reflects on their ambiguous existence and a vow made long ago to live their own story. Meanwhile, a monstrous wolf creature declares it doesn't care what humans say and tells someone not to mess with it. In Gleis, the blonde-haired woman pleads with the creature to put down its fist, then resolves to do her best not to leave it too injured. Nearby, smaller figures react with fear and awe, noting the immense power and recalling that weak demons are absolutely submissive. Gleis, surrounded by dark energy, pleads for forgiveness and states that while there are other ways to resolve the situation, she must proceed. The monstrous wolf-like creature roars in pain or rage, and a door slams shut. The wolf creature and Faust stand amidst dark energy, facing a woman with horns and Gleis who is enveloped in shadow. Meanwhile, three figures enter a grand hall through large doors. A close-up reveals Gleis's intense, determined eye surrounded by dark energy and what appears to be broken restraints. The character, heavily wounded and bleeding, endures immense pain. In the next moment, they are seen from behind, still injured and holding two small, sleeping wolf-like creatures. A group inside a grand hall calls out in alarm for Lady Alexia. Meanwhile, a person with long, flowing hair is shown in extreme distress, screaming in terror as dark, bloody streaks appear on their hair. Below this, an ornate umbrella snaps open, revealing a silhouette beneath it. The vampire appeared just as Saint Yuri had predicted, and now the group wonders if they should pursue the fleeing targets and finish them off. Meanwhile, a formidable castle stands silhouetted against the sky, and a strategist notes there's no need to rush, comparing a demon army without its king to trapped rats. Observing the scene, one figure decides that with the amount of bleeding, their target won't need their help, and they will set up camp as planned. Alexia calls out while nearby, a figure in dark, ornate attire kneels bleeding and someone urges them to call for Lord Faust. Another person shouts words of encouragement, telling them to hang on. Below, a severely injured individual with white hair gasps in pain, their face and hair streaked with blood. Lady Alexia calls out with concern as a sorcerer in priest's clothes, identified as having glasses and possibly being Faust, lies severely injured and bleeding. Another character, possibly in guise, reaches out to help the wounded figure. Meanwhile, a young woman looks on in shock, exclaiming that something couldn't be. Lady Alexia is urgently implored not to say anything, as the speaker declares they will leave one person to Faust, but questions what will happen to the queen. Another character, crying, expresses despair over an afterlife. The horned demon lord, wings spread wide, cries out in confusion, "What is going on?" To his left, a blonde-haired man in ornate attire looks on with alarm. The blonde man then shouts, "Sister, Alexia," desperate to find her. Meanwhile, a distressed Alexia is held by someone crying out in pain while Lord Ewald is mentioned nearby. A close-up shows a wide, shocked eye reacting to the unfolding events. A character pleads with Lord Faust, calling out to Big Sis as a desperate situation unfolds. In the distance, figures cry out, "Big Sis, Big Sis." Meanwhile, Rachel tries to calm Valen, who is in a state of extreme distress, screaming that Big Sis is my only and offering to use all my blood. Lord Ewald cries out, urging someone to stay with the others and not leave the castle. Meanwhile, Rachel, distressed, calls for Valen and Hilda to come to her. A door slams shut, and in the grand hall, a woman in a formal dress stands by the large doors, while others, including a wolf-like creature, remain inside. The woman with the braided headband looks down with a troubled expression, while behind her, two wolf-like figures and a young woman appear concerned. To the right, a woman with short blonde hair reaches for a door. Below, two wolf-like figures discuss the situation. One asks if the children have gone missing and the other declares it an emergency. Meanwhile, a wolf-like creature admits, "I took my eyes off of those kids. It's my fault." The wolf creature expresses concern about troubling Inglise too much, but Inglise insists he will go look for the children, suggesting they might have left the castle. He reassures the creature not to worry, as children are precious treasures, and declares he will head out at once, though he mutters an apology. Meanwhile, the wolf creature expresses shock that such an event has occurred. The wolf creatures explain they returned to the fort to retrieve a doll made by their father who died fighting humans. Meanwhile, a group of children are heard crying out in distress. Alexia is then shown in deep distress, with someone calling out her name. A figure named Nolas appears with a swift movement. A group of soldiers, including Nolas, discuss their strategy, planning to burn down the demon forest and then set up barriers. Nolas then states they will lure the enemy out with their full strength. Crown Prince Rufus suggests they simply burn down the Demon King's castle, believing their power makes it possible. Meanwhile, a woman asks for the body of the Demon King and requests a favor. In response to a chaotic scene, someone remarks, "I don't know what the saint is thinking," and then expresses a wish that they could act differently. Nolas, the sorcerer with glasses in priest clothes that Alexia mentioned, identifies himself as the second most powerful person in Inglise after himself. He is speaking to a woman with long blonde hair. In the background, a formal gathering takes place in a grand hall. A memory surfaces of a man who abandoned the speaker like others before him. This is followed by a recollection of a time when a different man acted as a parent to the speaker, especially when others were cold. Meanwhile, a woman with long, flowing hair is shown with a stern expression, and another observes her, remarking that she is the same as ever. In a separate scene, two figures are seen behind bars, one crying out in distress. A wolf creature, a woman with bunny ears, and another with cat ears react with concern as smoke rises from the black shadow forest in a fort. A distressed wolf creature growls, overwhelmed by events. Meanwhile, a woman in an elaborate dress asks, "Where are you going?" as an armored wolf-like figure turns and moves away from her. A blonde-haired woman states that any place they go would mean death, but a wolf-like creature insists the demon lord forbids such actions and that humans can no longer do as they please. Later, a wolf creature tells someone that times are difficult enough, while another wolf creature with a winged woman behind it defiantly asks what authority the other has, declaring it does not fear death. Brother Rodo Elfie cries out as a powerful fist descends, striking him with tremendous force. Blood splatters as he is sent reeling, while the attacker's determined eye watches from below. A group of onlookers gasp in shock at the brutal impact. A powerful wolf-like figure in armor strikes a blow, knocking someone out. Behind him, a blonde-haired figure looks on. Meanwhile, a young woman with a braided headband appears distressed. Another wolf creature apologizes for his foolish younger brother, stating he has heard about the situation from his subordinates. The blonde-haired figure then addresses the Demon Queen. A wolf-like figure declares that the Demon Queen's will is the Demon Lord's will, and that he will act as proxy for any punishment. In the background, a group of people are seen, with dialogue noting there has been a lot of disrespect towards someone and failures of countrymen leading to the situation with Alexia. The blonde-haired woman, who is not yet the demon queen, asks for someone to hold on. Another wolf-like figure, identified as the leader of the clan, states it is all his responsibility. A hand appears and an internal thought asks if they are still undecided so late in the game. The blonde-haired woman, along with others, reflects that one thing hasn't changed. She feels flustered by her benefactor's crisis, unable to make her own choices and just going with the flow. The demon lord, a figure with horns and large wings, reflects that he was miserable as a human. In the background, a blonde-haired woman looks on with concern, accompanied by an armored wolf-like creature. Below them, figures address the winged demon, calling out, "Lord Ewald." A character urgently asks Lord Ewald about Lady Alexia's condition, while another states they cannot predict her outcome. Meanwhile, Hilda is still treating someone and Valen is providing blood until he reaches his limit. A wolf creature reports to the demon lord that humans are burning down the Black Shadow Forest. Separately, someone states they restored her mana as much as they could, but implies it was insufficient. Lord Ewald forbids a direct counterattack against the humans, warning that it would play into their hands, though his subordinate expresses concern that if the situation continues, their castle may be attacked. Meanwhile, a white-haired figure finds a situation convenient and vows to personally reduce their enemies to ash, a statement met with a denial that it is true. A woman observes that no matter what happens, the demon lord is everyone's hope. She notes that Lord Ewald is clearly tired, likely having used most of his mana for Lady Alexia, but he is not showing it so as not to worry everyone. Lord Ewald is asked to prioritize saving Lady Alexia, while another figure volunteers to eliminate troublesome enemies in the meantime. A wolf-like creature observes that the demon queen was at the center of Inglise. Meanwhile, a character identifies a powerful enemy as an old human acquaintance whose power is on par with his own, but claims to know his personality and magic better than anyone. The demon lord declares that he will not allow it, stating he already told them that this is exactly what they want. The woman then declares she will play into their hands, as they believe she is already dead and would never expect her to appear before them. The demon lord asserts his strength, proclaiming it will be their worst nightmare. The demon lord confronts the woman, reminding her that she has never turned her blade on her own countrymen before and warning that hesitation on the battlefield leads to death. She replies, shocked, asking if he has any idea what her countrymen have done to her. He states that emotions and reality are two different things. She responds with a hesitant no, but then concedes that she can't blame him for thinking so. A character confesses that despite saying she hates humans, she is after all a former human who kept running away rather than face the demon king. The winged figure Ewald asks what she means. She then declares that it's only natural to suspect her of siding with humans, but insists that Ewald is wrong. Ewald responds that he understands if she doesn't believe him, stating that even with his immense magic power, it is not enough. A character in armor confronts another, uttering a sharp sound. Then a furious voice declares, "You're the one who doesn't believe." The name Rachel is then called out as she looks on in shock. The demon lord Ewald declares to Rachel that his soul tells him her existence is a miracle, and he doesn't need reasons or logic to believe it. He acknowledges how hard it must be for her, a former human, to accept that a man would make her his queen upon meeting her. Rachel, overwhelmed by their reunion after countless twists of fate, exclaims that they have finally met and that he is her destiny. Meanwhile, one of Ewald's companions voices her fear that she cannot trust him. The demon lord holds someone close, while Alexia questions if he is cold-hearted, cunning, and cruel. She expresses worry about what might happen if something were to befall the person he is holding. Meanwhile, others whisper sweet nothings meant to bewitch people's minds. A thought follows, acknowledging that such fears may indeed be true. Lord Ewald reflects that he is the real him, then speaks to Rachel with a pained voice, his hand trembling as he asks if she is there. He then holds Rachel from behind, apologizing for his foolishness and asking her to believe in him, reminding her of his promise that he would do anything to make her truly believe he loved her. A woman pleads with Lord Ewald to help Lady Alexia, while a determined figure vows to bring back enemy heads no matter what. Someone calls out Rachel, as she appears looking resolute. Rachel declares herself to be the Lich Rachel and the greatest necromancer. Meanwhile, a group of figures, including a large wolf-like creature, stand together. A figure with horns, identified as the Demon Lord, states that he is the betrothed of the Demon Lord. A group of soldiers are ordered to keep expanding the barrier, with one stating that their side is done already. Meanwhile, a figure wearing a blindfold and hat declares that if they burn down the Demon Lord's castle, it will be in front of them. The sounds of cracking and snapping are heard amidst fiery destruction. In a close-up, a determined individual with long hair and glasses looks on. Flames engulf a distant castle as a contingent of soldiers, led by a figure resembling Crown Prince Rufus, approaches. Amidst the inferno, a woman with long blonde hair appears, a sinister smile gracing her lips as she declares, "Greetings, welcome to the Demon Lord's castle." The grand, ominous castle of the Demon Lord stands amidst fiery destruction. A woman with long blonde hair adorned in an elaborate gown greets unseen arrivals with a chilling promise. You will be treated with the utmost hospitality. Below, a character with long white hair, their face obscured by a hand and a mask, is called out to, addressed simply as sensei. Flames rage across a desolate landscape, with a lone woman standing on the left and a group of soldiers on the right. A woman with long blonde hair smiles enigmatically, seemingly observing the destruction. Nearby, a sorcerer with glasses calls out Rachel, with concern. A woman with long blonde hair asks if the soldiers see someone else. Among the soldiers, one exclaims, "Long time no see, Nola's sensei," while another mutters that she should have been executed. Meanwhile, a man with glasses identified as Nola's declares that the current situation is an underhanded, desperate ploy from the Demon King's army, but a woman reassures him, stating, "Don't panic, it's an illusion. It's clearly an illusion." A woman with blonde hair remarks that someone says the most interesting things, then declares they will see what is an illusion. Meanwhile, figures in cloaks are told, "Do, and don't move," as a sorcerer with glasses watches with concern. Suddenly, one of the cloaked figures is violently thrown back amidst a burst of dark energy. A body hits the ground amidst swirling dark energy and another figure falls. In the lower panels, a figure with light hair recoils from the dark energy, while Nola's, the sorcerer with glasses, warns, "Don't move." A woman with blonde hair, adorned with a crown-like accessory, addresses someone below her, stating their subordinate's discipline is lacking. From the darkness below, a voice pleads to be mindful of how they speak. Nearby, a sorcerer with glasses, Nola's, reacts with distress. Inglise, recalling a past magical specialty, addresses someone as sensei. Nearby, a blonde-haired woman observes a barrier, noting its considerable size, while the sorcerer Nola's offers his assistance. Nola's, the sorcerer, recognizes Rachel amidst a scene of carnage, questioning if it is truly her. Meanwhile, Inglise remarks that there is no other possibility, even as she acknowledges the grim reality. Facing a group of soldiers, Inglise asks if one can so easily forget the faces of others, to which the soldiers respond by questioning if a person who abandoned their innocent disciple would do so. Crown Prince Rufus confronts a woman, asking if she turned into a ghost out of resentment and claiming he was the one betrayed. He laments that all the goodwill he spent building her up as the future queen was destroyed. The man, identified as Crown Prince Rufus, scoffs, questioning if he should have taught his companion seduction instead of magic. He expresses disbelief that a sweet-smelling girl could steal the Crown Prince away from her. The woman he addresses, chained beside him, is then shown unleashing a torrent of power, declaring herself worthless to him. A massive explosion erupts and a hand is raised as if to contain it. The sorcerer Nola's strains, lamenting that even the dead are holding him back, forcing him to close a barrier. Nearby, Inglise reacts with surprise. A figure with glasses explains that it couldn't be helped, as he had wanted to expand the barrier a little more. He then tells everyone they will proceed as planned, using magic from within the barrier to lure out the Demon King's army. A woman in an elaborate dress stands amidst a surge of powerful, radiating energy. A procession of robed figures stands before a leader, with a declaration of unbelievable. A sorcerer with glasses, Nola's, expresses disbelief that a ghost could withstand the highest level of holy magic. Nearby, a woman with long blonde hair, seemingly the target of the magic, stands with a stern expression, followed by a close-up of her determined, shadowed face as a hand snaps. Nola's, the sorcerer with glasses, declares that the barrier is impossible to break, even for a wicked dragon or the Demon King himself, and tells Rachel it's pointless. Rachel responds with a soft, amused laugh. A hand snaps its fingers, unleashing a massive explosion of energy. The sorcerer Nola's stands with a knife plunged into his back, his gaze fixed to the side, while behind him a heavily wounded man in armor, likely Crown Prince Rufus, clutches a sword, blood splattered across his face and chest. Crown Prince Rufus, grievously wounded and covered in blood, glares forward. Beside him, the sorcerer Nola's looks on with wide, shocked eyes. Below, in a chaotic battlefield, Rufus, still clutching his sword despite his injuries, faces an opponent. Nola's, seemingly having recovered from being stabbed, is present with other figures, one of whom cries out in disbelief and denial. The scene opens with a shocking sight, a mangled, bloody corpse prompting a cry of disbelief and confusion. Amidst the chaos, Nola's shouts for someone to hold on while others question what has happened and react to the dead body. Elsewhere, a figure observes the scene, remarking with a soft laugh how unfortunate it was that someone was so confident in their barrier. In the midst of the devastation, a desperate plea for a medic rings out as someone is tended to. Inglise stands beside a figure in armor, now heavily stained with blood, a triumphant smirk on her face. Below, she addresses someone, calling them sensei and thanking them for their wasted effort. Nola's, looking distressed and bleeding, cries out that necromancy is NG. He then states that he is quite skilled at dealing with the dead, but questions if this is really the time to be playing dumb before a group of soldiers. A scream of agony, Jiwei. erupts as a violent blast tears through the air, throwing debris and figures into disarray. Below, the horrific scene unfolds. A figure stands headless, flames erupting from the severed neck stump, while another panel shows the same ghastly sight from the front, amidst a burning battlefield where soldiers cry out in terror, UWA. Amidst a battlefield littered with corpses, soldiers cry out for their casters to burn the dead without hesitation. One soldier, his face bloodied and disfigured, screams to kill a certain woman and protect Lord Nola's. Meanwhile, a serene woman with blonde hair calmly states that that is the real problem. Explosions and screams rock the battlefield. The sorcerer Nola's, bleeding profusely and in immense pain, cries out that he is not a dead body and pleads for help. His eyes widen in terror, thinking terrible. Nearby, another voice cries out in despair, "This too NOOOO." Inglise stands, her expression grim as she looks down upon someone. She extends a hand and a sound echoes. Nearby, the sorcerer Nola's, bleeding profusely from his chest and mouth, looks on in shock and pain. The person with long, disheveled hair and glasses, terrified, reaches out a hand as chaotic energy explodes behind them. In a forest clearing, a distressed figure gasps while an armored companion urges them to quickly return to the kingdom and call for help, as the situation has taken a turn for the worse. A wolf-like creature, identified as Wild, is praised for its actions as it holds a severed, bloody head. Meanwhile, another wolf-like warrior makes pain sounds while holding a fallen, injured figure. The main panel shows a person being violently struck, their body covered in blood and their expression one of agony. Two figures in armor, bearing wolf-like features, discuss their orders, ensuring no one escapes and that the human army remains unaware of the Demon Queen or the Demon Lord's resurrection. Meanwhile, a large wolf-like creature reacts with surprise, questioning if the disappearance of the human barrier was the Demon Queen's doing. A lone figure stands amidst swirling clouds. Two wolf-like creatures appear, one roaring Demon Queen, while the other asks if she is safe. Meanwhile, a report is given that Lord Rodolph and Lord Wild have been taken care of. Then two armored wolf-like figures approach the figure from behind. Inglise stands amidst a battlefield littered with corpses, a severed head clutched in her hand. She declares, "Thank you for your hard work," and states that it is all over here as well. A close-up reveals her grim, weary expression. Inglise holds a bloody, unresponsive figure, questioning what has happened and that they didn't die. Nearby, wolf-like creatures react with shock, exclaiming that the Demon Queen must have done all this herself. Inglise then declares that death will not save someone from their punishment, confessing her own regrets and crimes, including the murder of the Demon King and injuring Lady Alexia. A severely wounded figure whose head is horrifically damaged recalls that their sensei taught them until their last breath. Nearby, other figures lie in similarly bloody states, prompting a reflection that humans are disgraceful and foolish. However, a sinister-looking blonde-haired individual observing the scene with wolf-like companions acknowledges this but adds their own contrasting thought. The battlefield is a scene of utter devastation, awash in blood and strewn with corpses. Inglise stands amidst the carnage, holding a severed head. A chilling realization spreads: the more humans they fight and kill, the more they join the ranks of the army of the dead. A grim prophecy is spoken, stating that eventually Inglise herself will be crushed. A wolf-like creature declares it is time to wage war, while beside Inglise, who holds a severed head amidst the carnage, another voice calls out, "Let's kill." Inglise's intense gaze, marked by blood splatters, reveals her unwavering resolve. All of this is for her destiny, the Demon Lord Yuld. Alexia wakes up, expressing her gladness that someone is awake. A horned demon stands by her side. Rachel, looking distressed, calls out to Faust, referring to herself as the mistress. Elsewhere, a horned figure addresses Rachel, asking if it is her and urging her not to push herself too hard. A man with long flowing hair comments that the bloodline of the vampire founder is expected to have remarkable regenerative abilities, then tells someone they slept for nearly 10 days. Alexia questions if someone hesitated to use demon's magic in front of the enemy, receiving a "really" in response. She then states that it's not yet good enough, while another character reflects that they must have cared about her when she wasn't perfect yet. Later, a character expresses relief that someone is alive now, but vows never to feel that way again, to which a horned figure apologizes. A woman declares that Yurt and Alexia are not to blame, attributing the situation to human nature. Beside her, a winged figure states that it's fine as long as their magic power is back, then asks about the sorcerer. The first woman reacts with shock, asking what they are talking about. A sinister smile spreads across a blonde-haired figure's face in the darkness. A woman with long blonde hair tells Alexia not to worry, while elsewhere the declaration is made that it's all over. The scene shifts to a battlefield covered in blood and corpses. In a room, a winged demon stands with two women, one in a patterned dress and a younger one. A man in a dark cloak stands facing a structure. A young man with fangs expresses his relief, exclaiming, "Older sister, you're awake." He is speaking to a woman in ornate attire. Meanwhile, in a room with a large bed, a figure named Farron enters addressing someone. Later, a woman with long blonde hair looking tired tells her companion, "Oh my, were you worried? I really didn't feel alive." Her companion replies, "I'm glad to see that you're okay." The crown prince asks if someone is all right, noting they must have lost a lot of blood in a transfusion, to which the other person asks if it's true. He then claims he's fine, mentioning Hilda scolded him for not resting, but adds that if he stays too long, he might get crusty. Elsewhere, a pair of broken glasses lie splattered with blood on the floor. A gruesome scene unfolds with a severed head impaled on a table surrounded by sharp instruments. A voice remarks, "I have a good toy." Another thought arises, "I wonder if I'm still hungry," followed by the chilling declaration, "I'm going to kill you." The page ends with a close-up of a pale-haired individual with sharp teeth, their gaze intense and predatory. Inglise mentions that toys were discussing something she initially disregarded, but it has now bothered her enough to share. In the background, a horned figure and a bandaged woman are present, with a question mark indicating confusion. The scene then shows a view of a large castle. The crown prince asks Yuri what she thinks, stating that this is where the Demon King will be kept. He also expresses surprise that she wanted to put the Demon King's body in the castle, but agrees it's a great idea to show their authority by breaking the hearts of the demons. Yuri reacts with surprise, noting how big it is. Meanwhile, two figures are seen working on a wall, and one blushes as the other compliments their intelligence. A woman explains she followed someone because she wanted to be the saintess who unseals the Demon King. Meanwhile, the crown prince declares he will make the Demon King a spectacle. Elsewhere, a woman blushes and agrees that something would be a wonderful way to start, echoing a sentiment of yes. Online posts discuss the Demon King route and its difficulty. A woman with long hair blushes, her eyes closed in pleasure as she anticipates something, saying she is looking forward to it. Below, a blonde-haired individual with wide, serious eyes looks on with a concerned expression. Rachel arrives late at night to speak with Yort, apologizing for the disturbance. Yort invites her in, and Rachel explains she wanted to talk to him, asking if she was bothering him. Yort reassures her that it is no trouble at all.